Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors podcast. The Greenway Outdoors is also an internationally syndicated TV show on Pursuit Channel and Wild TV. You are now tuned into our weekly podcast hosted by executive producer Kyle Green, production coordinator Jeff Hutchinson, director AJ Beadle, and creative producer Ryan Parks. We live in a world where our natural resources are almost solely protected by funds raised by hunters and fishermen. With over 60% of those funds coming from white males over the age of 55, the Greenway Outdoors team has set out on a mission to create content that would inspire millennials, Generation Z, and new sportsmen and women to get out, hunt, fish, and contribute towards conservation and the betterment of our planet. Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors. Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Greenway Outdoors podcast. I'm Kyle.
I'm Jeff.
AJ.
Ken.
Ryan.
And welcome to this podcast. This week, or actually next week, on the Greenway Outdoors television show, we're going to be airing our Python episode, which Ken actually got to go with us on. Partially. He got to go for the not so fun part, the rainy day part.
It was actually all fun.
It was pretty fun.
It was a good time.
La da da.
We'll always remember that.
We will.
We'll always have it.
Now, we have a quick little preview that I want to share with everyone for that episode to kind of get everyone hyped up for what's going to be happening. Let's check it out.
Wonder what he ate.
It was a deer.
How do you know?
I saw the other part of the clip. I edited this. How smooth is that, Ryan?
It is me.
Silk.
I remember that.
Man, it's too bad you weren't there for that.
None of this looks familiar to Ken because everything's dry.
Don't look away, Ken.
Betas.
Don't look away. Every time, I still jump. I like even editing that, I jumped a little bit because of it. But
Yeah, you jumped
30 times.
yeah,
You jumped looking at the screen, and my hand was the one.
yeah, you were the one filming it. What was that like? Like to have? Did he ever get you?
No, he got the camera, that's for sure. We were filming a couple times and trying to get him to strike at the camera.
You bit that mic.
Yeah, he bit the mic and
bit
yanked
the-
it right off.
He bit the mic
Pulled it
off
right
the
off
camera.
Yeah.
That's a
It's got to
force.
be like a weird. You're looking at it on a little screen, and you have to almost be cognizant of the fact that it's not just on a screen; it's literally right in front of you. And as it jumps, it's not just on a little screen; it's in your face.
And then all we were doing is taunting you, like get closer.
or this. Every time it lunges at me to try to bite me, Kyle says, "Hold the camera still." So I
Come on, Ryan.
Guess we'll do it again.
I had to revert to sticking my arm out in the general direction of the snake, and then looking away so I wouldn't know when it was gonna strike at the camera.
Please.
Please just don't get my hand.
Please hit the
He
camera.
delayed jumps after we go. Oh!
My favorite thing about like this job is like for you, all your friends are jealous and laughing about how you're like, man, you get to be on a TV show and do all this traveling and stuff like that, and it's what a cool job. It's like also my boss almost made me get bit by a python.
They say that snake was about 10 feet long, and it only takes a 6-foot one to kill you.
Yeah, we got 9, 10, and 11
Yeah.
foot long snake.
They were very well. They said it's 2 meters or 2.1 meters.
2.1 meters.
It's very specific. It's like I feel like a 2 meter one could
still.
Nope,
probably
2.1.
do just about as much
Wrong.
damage as a 2.1 meter. Like, but
You didn't ever complete a sentence, so
I could see like a 1 meter one being small and not having enough.
To describe what he's trying to say to the audience is there was a fact that we read online that said a 2.1 meter snake python was fully capable of killing an adult male as long as they were 2.1 meters
And 20 kilograms.
and 20 kilograms.
That sounds like a new internet challenge.
Oh, there you go.
There it is.
Everyone going to the
The
Everglades.
1.9 meter python challenge.
Yep.
Well, I don't think the millennials will be able to stick it out like we did because it took us 3 days to get 3 snakes, and I just don't. It's not like the cinnamon challenge where you can just go get a tablespoon of cinnamon out of the cupboard. You're gonna spend days in the Everglades getting eaten by mosquitoes trying to find it.
What was the other challenge we thought of when we were on the beach with the man of war
Jellyfish?
jellyfish? Yeah, suck the air out.
It's like, oh, because they're little
Yeah,
bubbles.
Yeah, they got the bubbles on them.
Hope you don't get shocked.
I heard it gives you a good buzz.
Who got stung? I didn't get stung.
I got stung.
I got stung
Oh yeah, Jeff.
8 or 9 times
Yeah.
on the back, my feet.
I think I threw it at you in midair. It latched onto you and then stung you.
Yeah.
Oh, what a good friend.
know.
What a good
Well, the
friend
thing
Ken
is we didn't notice they were there. And
No.
we're just doing our thing, walking around. Also, I'm like, God, my foot hurts. And,
Yeah.
And Ryan's like, yeah, like your leg hurt or something like that. And we look around and like, oh, look, there's the jellyfish. We probably both stepped on that one or that one. Or that one. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and then
There's
the lifeguard walks by. He's like, "Yeah, they're everywhere. Just look around." And it looks like
Yeah, stupid.
yeah, looks like water balloon. Like
A
they had thrown
deflated one.
yeah,
Yeah.
had been thrown all over the place.
Turns out there's more of them than there is sand.
they were everywhere.
Ryan's like, I kind of have a pain on my face, Kyle. Do you have any idea what it was? And then I look at him, and it's like, well, Ryan, it might be the jellyfish that's like this thing.
It's like
It's like, no, you're fine.
You're good.
You're good.
you always got that third blue eye thing going on, right?
It's living off of them.
That was an awesome trip, though, and the Python episode is super exciting. I mean, it's full of action. It's full of information. I mean, the biggest fact that sticks out at me while doing the rough edits of it was the fact that they've recorded 99% of the fur-bearing animals in the Everglades are gone. So 99% population decrease.
Prior
Yeah.
to
we didn't see any. I don't think.
That's interesting.
Yeah, 99%
That's a
of
good point.
fur-bearing
we
critters.
didn't, we didn't see like any type of like a muskratty sort of.
Not that
Anything
99%
like
of the species are extinct. 99% of the overall populations are down. 99% of the population. The population number is 99% lower than that of what it was before
They
the
explained
pythons come.
that of a female lays, let's say, 60 eggs, that something like 56, 58 of them survive.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're just thriving.
It's like the pig problem,
That is insane.
and they just increase exponentially.
There was another cool part that didn't make it in the show because for whatever reason the guy wasn't recording sound at that time. But one of the things that they do, it was very frustrating for me because I put it in and then I woke up from like a 2-hour nap and then AJ, I'm like, this isn't at all what I put into the show.
Oh,
He
yeah,
goes,
yeah.
oh yeah, the sound wasn't recording. It's the technical issues that happened in the show, but and only he could really explain
Was it Tom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Tom. And what Tom explained was they would put radio trackers in the male pythons that they would capture. So they capture males. It's like the Trojan horse because the males would hunt down the big females because they're like, hey, ladies, what's going on? And
They
then,
go like 5 miles just
Yeah.
to get to them.
yeah, they'll do whatever. They'll travel miles. And they're
I'll
re-
travel 5 miles.
and the
my
will
python.
slither 5.
100 miles,
There
and
it is.
I will. Ugh,
That's
God.
great.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, but it's good. Good job, Jeff. But no, you nailed it, buddy. But they'll go miles and miles to find a female, and a lot of males will go to one female. So they'll release males and then lead them to the female and then kill the female because that's what you're trying to do is get rid of those. And then they'll do it again and again and again. And at any given time, they've got about 20 that are being tracked. And what they'll do is they'll watch them travel miles, and then they'll stick within a 100-yard radius for days after that. And that means they found the female, and that's when you move in. Kind of cool.
Interesting.
They
Yeah,
get
it's
the
like
female
total
and then like
Trojan
5 or
horse.
6 males all at the same time in that one little female-led harem.
Yeah.
The thing that he was trying to describe that I don't think he ever really got well on camera was that when they shed their skin, and then that skin is just kind of sitting there. You'll find them every once in a while, but that has a lot of pheromone in it. and
Actually,
it'll sit
that was
there,
the part AJ put in, so don't ruin it. No, I'm just kidding. But
and
that,
it'll
that
sit
is
there
in
and blow in the wind.
Yep.
And he kind of vaguely described it
Nope,
in one of
he
the
killed
things,
it.
but he
Dead on, accurate, nailed
Yeah.
it. Very descriptive.
Yeah,
What
okay.
they call like the sock thing.
Oh,
the
Over the-
windsock.
Windsock,
Yeah, and he
yeah, yeah.
said windsock, but he never said like it's the skin that they
Did that.
molt off.
No,
you
I
know?
don't think he did.
But
Yeah.
then he went into a further description, and he described scent and scent tracking better than anyone I've ever
Oh, yeah.
heard do that. So essentially, he
the
described
man.
it as if you're in a room and it's a warm room, and there was a wafting, a wafting?
cold draft.
Wafting
A cold draft is what he said, but I wanted to use something else. But a cold draft, and it was like the wind blowing. You'd be able to feel it, and you could follow it to the source by feeling that wind. It's like a heavy feeling that you can feel the cold on you, and you would follow it across the room. And he said scent is even heavier, and for tracking dogs, and dogs like what we use for upland game birds, it's almost the same behavior that they're they're smelling it, sure. That's the scent that's happening. But we picture it as like, oh, pizza smells good, trying to lead to the kitchen. But for them, it's more prominent and more physical, that they can feel the scent as they're going, almost like you would feel cold air blowing against your face, that you'd be able to follow that. And once you got out of the line of it, you'd know you were out of the line, and you'd be able to get back to the
That's
cold
crazy.
traffic.
Like an
That's so
intense
cool.
game
Is-
of hot cold. Only they're much more sensitive.
In the
yeah.
face.
That's
But-
really cool.
Yeah, he described that better than... And I had AJ replay it, too, because AJ put that in the episode. I was like, play that again, because I want to hear that again. Plus, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was like a little out of it in general. But-
Everything sounds amazing.
Wow.
That's so cool what he said there.
But the episode itself is, like I said, full of information like that about pythons. They're decimating the Everglades right now, ruining the entire ecosystem. Again, 99% population decrease in fur-bearing animals. And now they're moving to eating alligators and everything else as well. So,
Yeah.
and they're competing. It's not just killing everything else. They're competing with the other critters that are on the top of the food chain. Alligators, the Florida panther.
Panthers, yeah.
Yeah, they compete directly with them.
Big cats.
And that causes everybody to expand. And they're saying that once the Everglades are barren, because that's the path that they're on right now, estimated between 150 to 300,000 pythons in the Everglades right now, that once it's barren, they'll actually spread out, and they'll their range will get bigger and bigger and bigger. So
I wonder how big it would get, because I know that they let them go in Everglades and they can live there because that's like an ecosystem they can actually survive in. I wonder how far north they could actually go.
I mean, you think about it, they'll do even if they cover all of Florida, because then you're at the southern part of Florida, so you're like right here.
Eventually, having a python will be like as common as a mouse in your attic.
Yeah.
Oh, we got pythons in the attic again.
Our
Did you set the trap?
It might bite me. Oh, don't be such a wimp. Just go up there and grab it.
I think that's what it's like living in Australia.
Yeah.
The spiders and
Oh, man.
snakes coming. It's just a normal thing.
Just
It's
grab
like,
a brick
there's
and
snake.
throw it.
Yeah.
That's true.
The-
I've seen some videos.
Our
Yeah.
friend, Ken and I's friend Diana, who lives in Florida, she said that where she lives, that when it's cold out or there's a cold spell, the pythons will be falling out of the trees.
Yeah. I've seen some videos of
That's
that.
Man,
weird.
like
They
a-
said the same about iguanas down there.
Really?
That it gets cold and they just get to the point where they're like, okay.
Well, their body has.
I've only
it
ever
slows-
seen them
they're
be
cold-blooded,
aggressive.
so-
I've only
Correct,
ever
yeah.
seen them be overly aggressive.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Well, yours lived in a warm tank, and that one we caught, you caught him.
You
He's angry.
caught him. On a much colder note, we
Much colder.
Yeah, much colder. We recorded some ice fishing content over the past weekend, and we took Ken's daughter out, as well as my niece Lily, and we did an entire ice fishing episode. It wound up to be awesome. We used tip ups to target northern pike, and we ended up being really successful. But the coolest part was seeing the kids out there and having them do the hunt and stuff like that. And we'll cover that more when that episode's airing. But it really took me back to some of like these kids are getting handheld through like very, very organized and very, very correct. I wish we knew where that ice was, Jeff. I don't know what you did with it when he lost that ice.
It's somewhere.
Now I'm out there using a spud like a pour. But yeah,
That thing goes through ice like butter. It's stupid.
yeah, the kids were
So stupid you lost it.
yeah. The kids were able to, do this tip-up fishing trip and stuff and, get catered to, and Jeffrey's cooking them lunch out on the ice and stuff. But, like,
Kyle's playing with frisbees out there.
yeah.
Nice.
Frayville Frisbees. But thinking back to, like, some of the trips we've had, Jeff, ice fishing, and the horrific circumstances that we've been in. One of my favorites is actually, it was right after I got a new truck. It was 2011, because I remember the year of the truck. It was January, and Jeff and I went out ice fishing on Saturday, and we ended up catching like a dozen or 15 keeper bluegills, sunfish. And it was freezing cold out that day. It was like 10 degrees or whatever. So Jeff and I took we took them and we put them in the bucket. As soon as we caught them, we put them out on the ice, so they freeze like instantaneously as soon as we caught them. And then we took them home the next day, and I was like so tired, and I was like, I'm not going to clean them. I'm just going to put them outside because it's so cold out, and then I'll clean them tomorrow because we're going to go again on Sunday. and then I'll just clean all the fish at once, the ones we catch Sunday and the ones we catch Saturday together, and just leave them. Well, before we left in the morning on Sunday, I was like, I better put those stinkers inside till they thaw out. And I was like, where will I not get yelled at for putting these fish? So I went down to the laundry tub downstairs, and I put him in there. And my mom wasn't gonna be home for a while, so I was good. And I put him down in there, and I put a little warm water, probably about 2 inches deep of warm water in there too, and then went ice fishing like a boss. And Jeff and I were out there fishing, and we got home to my mom, and we caught another, 12 or 15 good
Fair
fish.
amount, yeah.
And brought those home, and my mom was irate when I got home because, keep in mind, so I caught those fish Saturday in the morning into the afternoon, okay? Froze them. Then overnight they sat outside, okay? Frozen. Brought them in the next day. They thawed out and came back to life. Yep.
How
She
long were
thinks
they?
you're a monster because you just
Yeah.
let them sit in
so
2
then the
inches of
fish
water.
the fish, you're talking 24 hours later, come back to life because they were frozen solid from the time I caught them, and they're flapping around downstairs in the laundry tub, and my mom is so mad. So think about that. It's a true story.
How long? 24 hours frozen?
Yeah, they were frozen solid.
Clinically dead?
I guess so.
They
No.
can't,
Are you
they can't
sure it wasn't
technically
nerves?
be frozen solid.
They were like,
because-
"Fuck, fuck, 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 fuck." I mean, they were.
so they're cold-blooded. So
Yeah.
they're used to their body temperature fluctuating, whereas we keep our bodies at a certain temperature. So
Do you know the
can't go
scientific
down.
reason why this happened?
Vaguely.
Okay.
So we're warm-blooded, so we have to be at a certain temperature. If we go below that, our body kind of goes haywire. Well, they're used to their body rising and falling because temperatures outside change. And you know that as you ice fish, you can bring a fish in and it'll fight once you have it hooked. But otherwise, they're much more like nonchalant, casual about their
Right.
movements because they're so cold and slow. Well, they'll actually, as they freeze, as they get colder, they just move less and less and less and less and less and get to the point where they just won't move at all because their metabolism just basically stops and they're almost frozen. If they were to freeze completely, then they die because nothing can withstand complete freezing except for some rare
Right,
little
right.
things. But
But the
as long
stamina was
as
incredible.
they don't freeze completely, so my guess is it was like 28
At
overnight
night,
or something
yeah.
like that. So it's cold enough that they were frozen maybe on the outside, but not on the inside all the way. Now you couldn't probably just throw them back in the lake and like
Nurse
be
them
free.
back.
You
Yeah.
know, like they're
Well-
probably not gonna.
Well, I was proving it to AJ because I had told AJ and Ryan the story when we were out fishing this past weekend, and we had a pike that was out on the ice for an hour, and he was frozen for all intents and purposes on the outside, and it was like 5 degrees or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And that was for about 45 minutes or so,
Probably.
and he was frozen with his mouth open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He looked like you yawning. I mean, frozen. And
So good.
it was like a block. Like you felt like if you hit him, he'd shatter. You know what I mean? Like he was that hard.
Yeah.
We put him in the ice fishing hole in the shanty where it was warm and everything like that. And I nursed him back to the point where he was able to swim. Now we kept him hooked and like we gonna eat him. But
Yeah.
the whole point was to prove to AJ that like even after an hour,
Yeah.
he was out of the water that whole time, came back to life.
That was pretty
They
baffling.
basically just shut off, kind of.
It's incredible though.
But then it's like they need water to survive, but they're not.
If they don't have any like metabolism, nothing's really going on, and they don't need.
Okay.
It's like they got those guys that can like.
How come when I
And
don't
then
have,
eventually they breathe slow enough that they can hold their breath for like 6 minutes, 9
Yeah.
minutes, something crazy like that.
David Blaine.
how come when
Yeah.
I don't have a metabolism I just get all fat and sassy?
Eating soups and bread.
Fat and sassy.
Another good story was we were out there on a super, super windy day, and Jeff and I had one of the shanties that was basically, for all intents and purposes, just a blind, where it just pops up and it's a tent. You just set on the ice and hope the sucker doesn't blow away. And we didn't have the little spike things that drill into the ice.
That's the
We
funniest
never
part.
have those.
Yeah,
No
to-
one knows.
I
It's a
don't know how they
mystery.
function. I want to say this, and it's probably not smart of me to say
That's
because
the
it's like
funniest.
making me sound like an idiot, especially with all the ice fishing experience I do have. You know how I've seen people out on the ice
So funny.
That's great.
with the little cords that screw into the ice to like hold the shanty down. I've seen them, okay?
They screw into the ice.
But I've never.
No.
It's never been someone I knew.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when I've had them, I would think like you screw them into the ice and you just twist them, but it never works. I was like, okay, well, I'll ask my dad. And then like he's like, yeah, you just screw them into the ice. And then I ask Uncle Jim. He's like, yeah, you just screw them into the ice. But then when I get those guys out there, I'm like, show me. show me. They're like, well, I didn't bring him today.
I've never seen it done.
I've never actually seen it happen. I've only ever seen it once. It has happened where they were screwed into the ice and already holding somebody's shanties down, or I've just heard a lot of talk, but no action. And I don't know how they work.
They're very useful.
I assume
that's what I hear. I do. For all I know, Jesus has to come down and be like, okay, go in the ice, because it doesn't work for me.
I feel like that's how it would work on an airplane. When something actually bad happens, like everyone knows you've gone through the exits are over here and your seat underneath the seat there's a life
Flotation
thing.
device.
But when it comes time to something happen,
You wouldn't
no
have
one
a
knows
clue.
what's going on.
There's a slide? Why do we need a slide?
Everyone has these safety things they can use, but no one's using them.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
That's pretty much the expression. So I stepped out of the shanty because it was blowing away like crazy, and I was trying to come up with ideas on how to like weight it down so it wouldn't do that. So Jeff, I'll let you tell this story.
So here's from my perspective. So we're each sitting in an opposite corner, and you're like you fish, and you kind of got one arm out so you can hold the shanty, and it's still blowing any waves, and fishing,
So
and all of a sudden
horrible.
He goes, What if we just, and he doesn't really explain. He's like, what if we just, and then he gets up and walks out.
I don't say nothing.
And he walks out. I hear like some movement around, and all I hear is, I've got the idea of ideas.
That's what I said.
That's like to anyone ever saying, hold my drink or watch
Yep,
this.
yep.
I'm like, oh, great, here comes something. And then the spud that we used to break through the ice comes ripping through like the very center of the wall of the shanty.
Oh no.
And
That's
he
my
goes,
bad.
oh. I'm like, what was your possible motivation?
Oh my gosh.
We're poking a hole right in the set. Now we got wind. Now we're cold.
What? I don't
Well,
understand.
I don't
what were you trying
understand
to
it.
do?
I wish we
Sabotage.
could
So,
just leave it at that.
You know how the shanty has like a flap around the whole outside that like lays flat against the ice?
Yeah.
My idea was I was gonna like take the spud and stab it through that and
Into
then
the
like
ice.
into the ice, and it would like hold it like a
spike.
stick it
Thor.
through, and it would like hold. Yeah, I was trying to be Thor, and instead, because I used all the force I could, I missed that little flap and just punched it right through the side of the shanty.
Oh my god.
That's my bad.
So now we're cold.
It's the funny.
Now instead of just being a flat wall, now that hole is
Shanty's
collecting
ruined,
wind, so
too.
now it's blowing even. It's like worse even, and it was just not a good
That was my bad.
not a good day.
I-
I had to get
I
a new
own that.
shanty.
That is a
We
We had
dunk.
to.
I think we should tell the story about Lily when you were. It was just you standing by her, and her thought process, whatever
This is
what
my
was going through
This is
her
my
brain.
6-year-old niece.
whatever was
Oh,
going
yeah.
through her brain while she
I'm
was
proud
trying
of
to
this.
dig
whatever
hole.
goes through Green's heads when they're in the
Hey,
middle.
don't
of
you? Her last
Nice.
name's Clemens. Okay.
She's half.
She's a
green.
green.
But she was trying to spud her own hole, and the spud, like, for
She
anyone
was
who knows,
determined.
for anyone who knows, like, spudding an ice fishing hole is like an adult male task. Like, it's not easy to do. Now the ice was only 6 inches thick, but it's still really hard to spud a hole for a 6-year-old little girl who weighs like 20 pounds.
I
But-
think the spud almost weighs as much as she does.
Right.
Possible.
So she's got this big old stick, and she's driving away at it. I wasn't even there.
She
but-
She had been going at it for like probably a good 6-7 minutes, and then she stops for a second, like she needs a breather, and she turns to me and goes, "Hey, one time a girl at school pulled her pants down, and you saw her butt and privates." And then like that was enough of a break for her. Then she took the spud and then kept going.
It's like, where do kids?
So random, like we have filters, and we there's
Kids don't.
rhyme and reason to why we say things, and it was just so.
Sometimes.
And I'm like,
point.
and then my first thought was like, oh no, she's opening up to me about something weird that happened at school. But she was just like, oh, I saw some girl's butt.
That's it. That's all there
And then
was.
she kept going, and that was it. That was
She's like,
the
yeah, this
extent.
happened.
That was the whole conversation. And then
6-year-old
And
kids.
she pierced that ice too.
yeah, she carved her way through that ice all by herself.
At 6 years old.
I helped with like kind of making the hole, but I didn't really want to do anything with it because she got all the way through. Normal holes are like
It's a pretty heavy
what,
thing too.
6, 8
8
inches.
8 inches across.
Hers was like was 6 inches, but only on one, and then the other side was like 3 inches. So it was
was like a
big
rectangle.
oval.
Yeah.
And but she did it all by herself. I'd like, oh, you want me to help? She said, no, I don't want you to help. I want to do it. Okay.
And the best part about I love that about her. She's a tough kid too.
Yeah.
Tough kid.
She wasn't so tough when I pushed her over on the. No, I'm just kidding.
Fight.
Slap the mic out of the way. But the coolest part about that was we set a tip up in her little miniature hole, and she caught a giant, like a 21-inch bass out of it.
King
And,
bass.
King bass, baby. She was
It
so
was,
it was
yeah.
pretty cool too.
That was cool.
The funny thing was though, I was helping her as she was pulling up the fish, and she's yanking up on it, and the fish is like, because the hole wasn't.
It
big
almost
enough.
can't get it. Barely made it through.
So I had to like feed him through the hole because he was so big compared to the hole itself. But she ended up getting her own fish through the hole that she made, and then she's like walking around like Conor McGregor, like thought she was so cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's my fish. That's my fish.
That's gonna be the coolest part of the episode. She's just screaming it. She's like,
I did that.
"Did you see it?" I'm like, "Oh God, I rubbed off on her.
The fish
Oh
before
my God, you guys.
I'm the greatest fisherman alive." She's just like me.
the fish before that, Vivian wanted to like with all the fish we caught. Vivian wanted to touch, which is Ken's daughter.
Yeah,
who's
she's
there.
also 5.
Yeah, she wanted to touch all the fish, but for some reason with this fish, this bass, she was determined to get
touch the eye.
to touch the eye and make it pop out the
It's
other
like,
eye.
How far can I push? We're like, no.
Yeah, she wasn't gentle about it. She's
No,
like,
she's like pushing it,
pushing
and then Kyle's holding it. She's pushing it, keeps pushing it, keeps pushing it. Kyle's
like-
like, okay,
I'm
stop.
like, you gotta quit.
You know where she got that from? Ken does that to us when he travels with us. We're sleeping.
Oh,
and all of a
yeah.
sudden you just
When I let out the inflatable bed for you slowly, right?
what a monstrosity!
Wakes up on
I
the
was
ground.
So
I had to
mad.
leave.
We
I had to
could-
leave before way early in the morning, and
This is on the Florida trip.
this is on the Florida trip, and right when I was leaving, I unscrewed the inflatable mattress that Kyle was sleeping on ever so slightly, so the air came out. I got just. I knew it'd take a good hour or two before it to go flat, knowing that he'd wake up.
You're
Yeah.
on
back
the
in
floor
Michigan.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uncomfortable.
I was so angry when
I
I
was,
woke
I was,
up.
I was,
blamed
I was
on
waiting.
Jeff.
Yeah. He goes, why would you do that? I go, I don't even know what you're talking about. He goes, their mattress is flat. I woke up on the ground. I go, it was probably Ken who left at 4
I was
in the
waiting
morning.
patiently for the angry text message.
I was like, Ken would never. Then I texted you and you just didn't reply.
That is so
I had to
funny.
like confront you about it like a week later on a phone call.
Well,
Like,
and-
was that you? You're like, yeah.
You did it the night before too, because it was in the way of everything.
No, I did it the morning, because you guys are so sloppy. You just leave everything laying out. So I was cleaning up,
Whoa.
and I let the air out the morning of, or the next morning.
Oh.
When no one is, you know,
Oh, that's right. So
Yeah, and then
the
Yeah,
inconvenience of reblowing it up after 15 hour of
Yeah.
it just laying there.
My favorite part about like
You were going-
paying for a really nice B&B is like to buy it for you guys and like make sure we're staying in like downtown Miami and it's really cool for everyone. Everyone gets a bed, except me, and I sleep on an air mattress, and then everyone ruins it for me. I love that. That's like my favorite
That's
part.
because
about
you
the trip.
slept in the common area. You're going to get it. Whoever wakes up first,
yeah.
they're getting you. You don't know what it is yet. You don't know how, when, but it's going to happen.
You will get a penalty for this wonderful trip.
That's why
It's
we
penalty.
and that's the thing, because I usually sleep on like the couch or whatever because I don't care. But this one trip, I'm like, you know what? This time I walk in first. I pick a bedroom. Like, this is where I'm sleeping.
The king bedroom, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and AJ had a nice room. Besides the fact that the corner of that bed, the way this
Oh,
room
man.
was set up.
You guys shared a bed?
Yeah,
You had 2 beds in the room. Why'd you share a bed?
because it was cold there.
It was warm.
It's Miami. It's freezing.
Okay, we did not share a bed.
You gotta
Well,
correct.
yeah, I
it.
gotta make that clear.
But it's
Well-
okay if we did.
But it's okay. Yeah, I mean,
Hey, if that's what
It's
you're
just
into.
like, but I'm open to it whenever.
On the next topic is toxic masculinity.
that's actually pretty funny that we're covering that. What were you gonna say, Ryan? Something about your bed and
yeah,
AJ?
Whenever you like walked into the room,
AJ's
the way the
really
room was set up,
warm.
it was impossible not to like put your foot under the bed and hit
Yeah.
one of the metal posts
Oh.
or just jam your thigh
like
into
a
the
toe
corner
magnet?
of it.
Aw.
My left thigh was just covered
poor-
in bruises.
You poor thing. That sounds.
Thought about jumping off the balcony.
You poor thing. That sounds almost as bad as a deflated air mattress from Terrible Friends.
Waking up on the hardwood floor.
Yeah, that was super nice. As if I don't have enough back problems, but whatever. That actually reminds me of. Actually, it doesn't. I'm just trying to find a way to say this. But anyhow, there was another ice fishing story I wanted.
That was the longest ice fishing story and rant that I think we've
Somehow
ever
we
had.
ended up in Miami on that ice fishing story. But another one was I was fishing Parker Tunder's grandparents' lake, and it's Runyon Lake, and it's why did I say another?
Yeah,
place?
I was gonna
keep
say.
saying where we live, but anyhow, it's very narrow, long and narrow, like not a river narrow, but pretty narrow. And I was sitting out there, and it was one of the days where the ice was so flat that it was hard to walk, just slick and flat, like completely flat. And I went out there, and there was no wind. It was beautiful. It was nice, everything like that. I go out, and I did see that there was going to be a storm later on, but I'm good to go for now. It's still sunny. So I'm sitting out there, and I make a big ice fishing hole, and I've got one of the shanties that actually have, and we showed the picture of it, but it's blue, and it comes out from the sled. So it's a sled with a bench seat.
I'm glad it's blue.
I was actually like hinting that they would.
If anyone's
probably
looking for us,
populate
it's the
picture.
blue thing on this lake.
Yeah, I don't know. But if you would actually pull the cover out from the sled, and then it would go out. So like everything's all encompassed in the sled, and then you're just pulling out the whole tent area out. There it is, right there. So you're looking at the back window, and the sled, and the bench seat is built into the sled, and then the other part just swings out from there. So I'm sitting in that sucker, and I'm fishing by myself with all my friends, and and then I'm jigging for bluegill or whatever, and all of a sudden, the hole that I'm fishing in is gone, and my pole's gone, ripped out of my hand, and I'm going 30.
I love the speed.
Yeah.
The guy at the dock has this.
someone
his
clocked
pitching
me.
speedometer.
You can guarantee I was going 30 miles
He's
an hour.
going an easy 30.
So all of a sudden, I'm going 32 and a half miles an hour across the ice. And I mean,
That's
I'm really
pretty fast.
flying though. I've got my feet flat against the ice, and I'm sitting in the bench, and I'm just going because the wind hit my back so hard, and I was in that narrow canal that I'm just trucking. I'm going so fast. I've got my feet dragging against the ice, but everything's so slick.
Are you looking out windows? Or you just
Yeah, I'm looking everywhere. I'm just scared, and I'm just looking around, and I'm just going so fast, and I'm seeing as I'm going, because it's just a flat moving thing like that with my back, so the sled is on its side, and I'm just going. I'm seeing ice fishing holes appear in the shanty because I'm going forward, so they just appear inside, and you duck them and you dodge them with your feet. I look out the window, like you mentioned, for 1 second, and all of a sudden, someone's big ice spearing hole comes into my shanty because I'm, again, moving 30 miles an hour. By the time I saw it, it was because my feet were hooked in it. It hooked my feet, pulled me off the seat. The shanty didn't stop. It bounced up and landed on my head. Now, so I'm in the hole up to my waist now.
Can you
and
touch?
No,
Oh,
no,
not
50 foot of water.
Yeah, not right. That's a deep lake.
It
you
bounces.
talking about Runner Lake in Idaho?
Yes.
That's what you said, right?
Good
Yeah.
cover, Jeff. So the shanty bounced, knocked me, landed on my head, and that shanty weighs, I don't even want to exaggerate. We all know that thing's heavy. What, 90 pounds? 100 pounds?
An easy 100.
An easy.
That's an easy 100. That's an easy
before we
100
pack
pounds
it with
going about
snacks.
30 miles an hour.
And I had snacks, so it was at least 110. But it landed on my head and smashed my head against the ice, and it knocked me out for just a second. And I started sliding back into the hole. I was up to my waist by the time I regained what was happening, and I had that smell of when you get a concussion, that smell like pennies or whatever it is. And I started sliding, so now I'm waist deep in a hole in the ice, and my shanty's still going. And I'm trying to pull myself out, but it's so slick that I had to lift my foot. It could have killed me, because if that would have knocked me out, I would have slid right in. If it would have knocked me out completely,
Oh yeah.
I would have slid right into the hole and died. It would have been like, how'd you die? Get to the pearly gates and be like, well, I was ice fishing, and the next thing I know, I was underwater unconscious. I don't know what happened. It was insane.
I was going 30. I don't know.
The shanty. I know I was going.
Thou shalt not lie.
All right, I was going 31. But I ended up getting out and watched, and the shanty went on for a long ways. Once it got to shore, it bounced into the rocks, bounced up the rocks because it was so high, rolled up the tree. And Parker saw that, so that wasn't just me at that time. Someone else saw it from shore, rolled up the tree. And that thing weighs 100 pounds. It was incredible. I mean, the wind was so powerful. I mean, if I was going 30, the wind was probably 60.
Easily.
But
You should have punched a hole right in the middle of it, then it wouldn't have caught all that wind.
I would have just drafted through then. I would have been fine. I should have used that other shanty. But it was a terrifying experience, and it all happened within seconds. All of a sudden, I'm going really fast. I'm confused. I look out a window. Then I'm in an ice fishing hole, and something smashing me against the back of the head against the ice. It was one
And
of
that
the
was
scarier
how you
trips.
lost cell phone number 11.
13, actually.
Easily.
Which is funny because this is episode 13 of the Greenway Outdoors. And when
Oh,
we
no
come
way.
back... Oh, actually, you know what? I can't do that yet. Ryan had a philosophical question that I'm sure is really interesting. Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay,
So do you want to just go to break then? Or?
Yeah, just cut.
we can just skip it.
Go ahead,
It's fine. Okay, is trapping ethical and / moral?
Yeah, we do it all the time. All right, so when we come back... No, So Ryan, what are your thoughts behind this? Why did you write? Why did you write this compelling question?
I don't like trapping. I don't like it.
Are you serious?
Seriously.
Oh,
I think of it more. I think it's more an
talking about animals,
ode,
right?
an ode to the past of the frontier.
I agree with that, but I don't think if you need it for food, I agree with it. If you need it for you absolutely need money, like you're selling furs and that's your livelihood, I agree with it.
Hold on.
But just doing it for fun, I don't like it.
What do you mean
I
do
would
it for
agree
fun?
with
What path are you going down right now? You sound like I can't even left winger. Like what's going on here? So hold on a second. You're saying what type of hunting do you agree with where you just do it for fun? Which hunting do you approve of on that? Just one answer question. Like just answer that question for me.
You're on the hot stove.
Oh, so you like hunting when it's just for fun? You don't need to eat it or consume it or use it?
No. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
I hope so.
You are. 'Cause you're making a big deal, and I don't think he's making a big deal about it.
Let's hear it then. I'll give you
I
give
don't
you a
like
chance.
I don't like trapping because, say, like we were doing the muskrat thing.
Mhm.
I don't like the idea of that thing being trapped and suffocating underwater for however long,
So
or
it's,
freezing to death.
so it's the ethics of that. But you're okay with that as long as you're getting money out of it?
I'm saying if it comes down to your survival, absolutely.
Okay, so you're saying if it's a tactic
Money falls in that category, I think.
to survive.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you propose then? Because that's like a really sad picture too. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's an otter.
I hate us now. but so explain to me like where you're going with this, because I'm actually, this is an interesting question now because you're volleying the second side. So
I just don't like if the trap kills the animal immediately, it's okay. But if say you're catching fox,
well, hold on. See, right there is even interesting. So
Why?
if you kill it, it's okay.
Yes.
So are you okay with archery? Because they don't die instantly.
it's quicker than being trapped underwater, suffocating.
Is it? If something snaps and breaks your neck and you're held underwater and your last breath is probably that, like the muskrats were? Because the muskrats, I doubt, suffered. Most of them died on impact.
Yeah,
But
it breaks their neck almost
Let
immediately.
me
Yeah.
justify what I'm saying.
sure.
Say you're trapping foxes or bear or cats.
Yeah, I
What-
heard some crazy person caught a fox with a muskrat trap. Now that guy's
Yeah.
a monster.
That guy is a monster.
That was Jeffrey.
Their foot's stuck in it. It's a foot trap.
Yeah.
Okay.
What those animals will do to try to get out of that trap is insane.
Yeah.
They will snap their legs and chew it right off.
Wow.
I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And I
Sure.
I don't.
That was one of
If
the
I have
things
the-
that I looked up
I can agree with
after I
that.
caught the fox was like, about fox trapping. And they said that a lot of times you go out there and you'll find the foot trap with just a foot in it.
Yep.
And you got what you wanted. It was a foot trap. Like,
Nice.
Jesus.
that's
dark.
That's monstrous too.
Yeah.
So I would not be one to say that trapping using legal purposes or legal methods is wrong. I would never say that because, like you said,
I don't think it's wrong.
if it's see
I
see
ju-
for instance, like not everything that's wrong is illegal in general, not even just in hunting, that's in life. So there's things that are wrong. You could be mean to somebody, you could say bad things, you could take advantage of somebody in a business deal. There's things that are wrong that are not illegal. So I'm not going to say that just because something is legal that it should be supported. I wouldn't say that. But what I would say is that when it comes to trapping, that the people that are trapping are doing it for food or they're doing it for money. So
that's
so you're okay with it then.
I'm okay with it
My
then.
problem
But
is
if
when you say that it's for fun. Like when it's for fun, it's like, well, anytime we're taking a life, fun is a relative term. Hunting is fun. That's why people do it,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
So if we're going out and we're hunting or we're going out and trapping, we have a purpose to do that. So we have a purpose to either get the fur or the meat or both
correct.
or money.
If you're doing it, you better utilize everything you can.
Sure.
But
so in what context, because we've already established everybody that hunts is probably having fun. Everyone that is trapping is probably using the fur or the meat. I doubt people are just going out and taking the time to be miserable to set traps.
Yes,
With
and
the-
then check them every day in
with-
waders.
Yeah, to just do it for fun and not for those fur. So what realistic circumstance, other than saying people just doing it for fun and no purpose, what realistic circumstance would ever actually fall under you having a problem with it?
If someone said, "Oh, do you want to go to my grandfather's farm and help me set traps for muskrats?" Because that's what we do. Because we like to have muskrat roasts. I would say no. Cause
You like to have muskrat roasts?
yeah,
What do you mean?
eat a muskrat.
So it's not okay if you're eating it.
No. I'm saying if someone came to me and said, "Do you want to go trap muskrats?" I'd say no. I'd say just like if I just wanted to join them, that's not something I'd be like, "Yeah, I want to go do that." Let's set some colony traps up underwater where those muskrats can crawl in there, sit under there for however long they can hold their breath, and then realize, "Oh, I can't get out of this. I can't get out of this." And then they just breathe in water until they're dead. It's the same thing. Even mouse traps bother me, like the one you were talking about where it's the bucket and the ramp goes up and then they fall into the water and
To
it
be
freezes.
fair, though, he tried to make it nice for them.
I did try to make it nice, and they ate my food, jumped out, and then pooped on it.
He didn't
Wow.
use water. Jeffrey used the method where they would fall into the bucket, and then he put food and water in there for them so they'd have
I
a nice
figured I'd
place to be.
relocate 'em.
And then relocate them. But they just would poop all over his stuff and get out somehow.
Yeah.
They're smarter
So
than him.
I think I get what he's going with is, if you, for you personally,
For me personally.
if you were invited to do a muskrat trap because that's something you can do, you wouldn't unless you needed the money or needed the fur
or needed the food. Correct.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And to be honest with you, I'm only drilling you because
I don't appreciate it. No, I'm just kidding.
You're like, I quit.
One more word. Say one more word.
I'm drilling you because it's dangerous, the mentality that people often have towards what's legal and what's not. It's like when people are really defensive over the Second Amendment, they don't want to give up an inch anywhere because they're scared of what
Comes next.
comes next.
Correct.
Exactly.
If
So
you
in this
if you
case,
do it,
to be honest with you, I'm
Go
not.
for it.
We used colony traps to learn different tactics on how to trap muskrats. But if I was to do it myself, I can guarantee you that I would only use the ones that kill them instantly, the ones that snap
bear.
shot. I can understand that, and I have an uncomfortable feeling, and it's an uncomfortable feeling when you'd walk up on something that's just in a foot trap and it's mad and it's been out there all night. Now you have to euthanize it in that situation.
Yeah.
But also, I have an understanding that in some instances, that's really the best tactic to use to be able to get a species that might be demolishing something. Muskrats do a lot of damage, but coyotes do a lot worse. And how can you effectively stop them? What I did see, though, was a foot trap where this guy, and I wish we had the video, we don't, but this guy would actually release them by hand. The guy
Yeah.
was nuts. I think I sent it to you.
yeah.
So, my summary on this is trapping moral or immoral? I would say that it is moral because it's a tactic that works, that makes sense, that is practical to hunt these things. If I had the opportunity to hunt muskrats with a gun, or if I had an opportunity to hunt fur-bearing animals with a gun, such as a coyote, I'd prefer that. The quicker, the cleaner, the better. But I'd have to say that I actually end up somewhat agreeing with you on the colony trap thing. It would not be my go-to tactic. I can see in some instances it's probably the only good, realistic setup, but I would prefer something that's going to kill something quick and ethically in general as well, and that would be the policy that I would take moving forward too. I only drilled you because I wanted you to give the depth of the answer, not just that. When we come back, we're actually going to get into another deep conversation. No, we're not. Ryan, tip of the week. So hit us with one more thing. I gotta look at this. I gotta start looking at this guy. Yeah, it's right now.
Okay.
It's right now. Do it twice.
All right. So right now, Michigan and our surrounding states are going through some extreme cold weather. Right now, the wind chill is negative 40 degrees, and the tip of the week is be very aware of outdoor temperatures and how that may affect you. And the facts behind, well, you can see this chart right here on wind to temperature, what the conversion is.
Yeah, I've always been curious about this because you hear wind chill and you're like, based on what? What does that mean?
Yeah.
How much wind does it take to change?
Yeah, so ours is negative 40 right now. Where is that on there? So we have a negative 10 degree temperatures and gusts of wind up to 35 miles an hour. wind up to 35 miles an hour.
Oh, I see.
So you're saying
Oh,
it's dark
okay.
blue there where those two meet. So in 10 minutes you could end up with frostbite, which I heard on the news. They're like, if you have to go outside, if you have to shovel snow or something, either bundle up really well or
Make it quick.
do it in like bursts where you go shovel for a little bit, then go inside.
Yeah.
And honestly, where I was, it wasn't windy. I don't know if it was just because I had trees kind of protecting me, whatever. So it was negative 10, negative 12, and I'm outside shoveling, and it's cold, but it was like still okay. I got through most of the driveway, and then wind started blowing, and I'm like, oh,
This hurts.
I feel that now. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, this says if it's 0 degrees Fahrenheit and the wind speeds are 50 miles an hour, that can create a wind chill of negative 19 degrees. Under these conditions, frostbite can occur within just 30 minutes.
That's incredible.
I think it's quicker if it. They were saying like 10 minutes.
Well, it's a
Negative
lot
40
colder
right
than
now.
negative 19.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
negative
okay.
40 right
Yeah,
now.
okay.
That's why.
Okay.
No, I would definitely agree with that. And this is a great chart. And we'll put this up on our social media pages as well so people that can use it and utilize it to understand. But knowing...
Fortunately, this is about once every 20 years that reaches these temperatures, hopefully.
Yeah.
It was
First
it
in my
was
lifetime.
colder in Chicago, I think yesterday, because they were like right at the center of
Yeah,
the
they were
polar
getting
vortex.
blasted.
It was colder in Chicago, not even feels like, but actual temperatures colder in Chicago than it was in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Wow.
And last I read, 15 homeless people were found dead,
It's
frozen.
Richest,
I heard it was 6, but
yeah, that's a really big bummer. Because if I would take them home, I would feel so bad. If
Yeah,
I
they're
saw
going
'em.
around Detroit picking them up and bringing them to wherever people are just.
There was a
They need to go somewhere.
VA that was allowing free use of their hyperbaric chamber. If I think it was pets, like if they found an animal outside and they wanted to bring it in, you could bring it to the hyperbaric chamber, which is supposed to help to prevent frostbite or reverse the effects of frostbite.
Because of the oxygen?
I would hope they would do the same for
Bless their
homeless people.
hearts.
Because of the different atmospheres in the
Yeah,
hyperbaric chamber?
because it's a high pressure oxygen environment.
Right. So, I actually really enjoyed our social media comment of the week this week, and it was on a picture of me, Lily, and Ken's daughter Vivian as well, while ice fishing, and it was from Dan Olson, and I just thought it was cute because he posted a picture of him and his daughter with some really nice perch. I should get his hotspot since
And
we
a
tell everyone where
walleye?
we fish. I think that's just I didn't look, but yeah, there is a walleye. The
He had
bottom right
another
one's a
picture
walleye.
in there. I think it's a walleye. That
Yeah,
one
it
with
is.
the whiter belly there.
Yeah, it is. I said that already. I'm just kidding.
I don't think
stupid.
it's a.
Read a
well, if you
book.
look, yeah. Of course
But here's
it
the
is.
thing. Based on the size of the kid, and based on the size of him,
Those are monster fish.
and based on the size that you know that walleye, depending on what water it was taken from, has got to be at least 15 inches.
Yeah.
That means those perch done ate some walleyes.
It was. It was a
Those are big
16-inch
fish.
walleye. So that means the next biggest, the perch was probably 14, 15 inches.
They're not
And
even supposed to
all-
be that big.
they're
Yeah, that's
all
pretty
that
big,
There's
right?
That's
one-
huge.
There's
That's
one
what-
in there, that little dinky one. We would have loved that one. 'Cause
I'd be-
that one's like a 12.
Yeah. The biggest I've ever caught was an 11 3/4 inch perch.
Yeah.
I've actually caught a bigger sunfish than I have perch, which isn't supposed to be the case, but that's been my life. So thank you, Dan Olson, for that awesome comment.
Dane.
Cute picture, cute. Oh, Dane? Is that how you say it?
Dane
Oh, I
Olson.
thought I said Dan.
I wrote Dan on here. Oh,
Dane.
I see it now, though.
Mm-hmm.
This is my nightmare. After I compliment him, he's like, "Sir, the gun, it's Dane."
It's Dane.
It's a great picture, and we appreciate you writing into us.
And taking the time to teach your, future generations about fishing.
There was a lot of people are talking about this. There was a commercial created by Gillette, and it was basically they were talking about the best a man can get. But the idea behind it, and we're gonna roll that right now without sound, just pieces of it because I don't want to put the whole thing up because YouTube will cut us down. But essentially, it's a commercial about a razor. But apparently, they decided to be, and you see the kid they're talking about being bullied and little kids wrestling. And those
Boys will
guys
be
are all
boys.
saying boys will be boys and boys will be boys. And the idea behind this entire commercial and the push that they put in it was to talk about toxic masculinity. That's what they're calling it, toxic masculinity.
I thought their product was for shaving.
It is funny, right? Why would you target all the people that are... Yeah, so they're talking about toxic masculinity. And the idea behind it was they included scenes from sounds from the Me Too movement. So there was talking about like the Me Too movement and appropriating that with people that were suffering from toxic masculinity. They were little boys wrestling, as you saw there, at a party as kids, because that is a symbol of toxic masculinity, and they're being trained incorrectly. And then you see another kid being bullied, which apparently is a product of toxic masculinity as well. And I've done a lot of thinking about this over the last few weeks, and one of the things that I thought about was, what is masculinity? So I think if you took people that approve of this commercial and people that disapprove of this commercial, you'd likely find that the definition of masculinity would probably be pretty universal. So Ryan, what would you say, like, what is masculinity to you? Like when you hear that?
I don't know.
Ken,
That's pretty good.
Masculinity. What is masculinity? Very simple. Just what is masculinity to you?
Oh, masculinity. No, just kidding. Generally speaking, I mean, we got centuries of example of what that can mean, and just recently what is
that
changing? So it's being masculine to me, given a husband and a father, is number one priority, is to protect my family, and that encompasses a lot. But to me, that's kind of the definition of being a masculine, is
taking responsibility, essentially.
Protecting the people you love most.
Okay.
Provider.
So I would be ridiculous to think that you wouldn't be willing to be physical to do whatever you had to do to protect your family, right?
Well, obviously.
Obviously. So what would the opposite of masculinity be? Be feminism, right?
Femininity, not feminism.
You don't. Feminism and masculinity aren't the complete opposites of each other.
No,
I would think the complete opposite would be like a male that's not masculine.
That would not. If you were going for polar opposite of the term masculinity,
Based on standards today, if you said Ken's masculine, and then you said that woman is feminist, it's not opposites.
I don't want to say feminist. I want to say feminine.
Feminine.
Femininity. That's
Yeah.
different.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the opposite of masculine is feminine.
feminine.
This isn't even debatable. That's the
Yeah,
fact. So
yes.
that is what it is. Whether
Yes.
you guys don't agree with me or not, that's
Well,
okay.
you said
I
feminist.
know I did.
So that-
So I
that's
slipped
why I
up
said
there.
that.
Get over it.
So you take feminine and masculine, and you're saying that they're different, but you're putting a word toxic in front of it, and the word toxic to anybody is going to mean something bad. Now, if you talk to anybody about what masculine is, they may point to traits that are historically bad. So they would say something, a lot of people bring up Hitler, like he's overly masculine, and that was toxic. Or you might bring up somebody who would protect his family at all costs, like Ken, and that would be masculine. So you get to a definition, but I actually think that if you took your preconceived notions of what you've decided it means out and you were forced to define it, everyone stops to think about it for a minute, just like you guys did, and then they give just a very simple example of what it means to them. But both sides agree on what masculinity is. But what's happening is being demonized now as that little boys aren't supposed to wrestle. Saying that being masculine is what created, or is what is the problem fueling the people that are causing the Me Too movement, the rapists, the things like that, is
Predators.
predators and things like that. Saying that they're masculine is wildly untrue. And by defining it and saying that it is true, you're creating a very unhealthy environment for young males. Because if you're telling young males that being masculine, when they know in their heart what that means, and it's like what Ken said, and it's protecting your family, having responsibility, that's what masculinity really is. If you're telling them that that is bad, and that causes rape, and that causes these other things that happen that are awful, awful things, including Hitler, then you're creating a paradox where they're believing that they're not supposed to be masculine. They're not supposed to wrestle. They're not supposed to do these things. A coward that bullies someone or cyberbullies someone is not masculine. The person who stands up to him is masculine.
Correct.
The person who protects the other person is masculine. See, the way my dad taught me was, if something happened to a girl, you're forced to step in because you're masculine. You're protective. You have responsibility towards things. Now, it's a trait, but it's a trait that is pure. To attack it and say that that's the fuel behind the Me Too movement and things like that is wildly irresponsible, and it creates this environment where a male feels like he has to suppress emotions and things that are all inside him. I mean, Jeffrey and I used to wrestle as kids all the time. I always won. But, Ryan,
I can remember one time we wrestled.
Yeah, we didn't really wrestle that much.
Yeah, it's because you blocked it up because I won.
Yeah, I wrestled with my dad every night when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Every night when I was a kid, I would wrestle. You know what I mean? Like, we get in the living room, and I'd be like, bring it on, and he'd wrestle, and he'd teach me this. He taught me how to defend myself. He taught me all these things. But he also taught me, by example, I've never seen my mom open her own car door. I've never seen that. I've never seen my mom pump gas. Except maybe unless he wasn't around, like if he was gone somewhere or something.
I've seen your mom open her own car door.
If she's
He was at
driving
work,
and he's
but-
not home. But if my dad's there, he's putting the coat on my mom, he's opening the car door for her, and my mom respects my dad, and my dad is masculine. Now that's to say now for hundreds of years, looking back, that women are suppressed and it's the masculine male that dominates a woman is an unfair and inaccurate assessment of the past. It's not true. And to say that women have been held down and they haven't had any responsibility for raising kids, for raising people, and even now when you look at present day, you often hear that men own a majority of the wealth in the country. But at the same time, that's a highly inaccurate statement, because the top 1% of the wealth is owned by a group of individuals that happen to be male. But the overall aspect for the rest of the statistic is a lot more even, and it's different. It's not comparable. For instance, like, let's say you're a plumber, right? So if you call a plumber right now, Ryan, what is the likelihood that a female is going to show up at your house? Say 5%? 10%? Let's make it a crazy 15, but it's probably not even 15. Now, is it because plumbers are picketing in the streets making sure females can't be plumbers? Or is it because it just tends to be something that's more masculine? It just tends to be something more masculine. That doesn't mean that plumbers are bad people because they're guys that happen to be plumbers. It doesn't mean that. And to say it's not true is insanity. So when you've got a group of people that are saying that all of these things and women are being suppressed and stuff like that, well, more men are in prison. More men are in prison. More men are in the military. More men die in the military. More men commit suicide. At what point, is this oppression? Are we just looking at it as a specific for one group to get the better of the other? And why are we making it we're being masculine and doing the right thing and taking responsibility is a bad thing, and attributing being masculine to the Me Too movement and to bullying is wildly inaccurate.
It's a form of bullying in itself.
It is.
I think I have a different opinion of the commercial than you do.
Okay, let's hear it.
Gillette never said that commercial was because of toxic masculinity. What they did is they made a commercial that basically came down to, these are the things that men tend to do that can be twisted to a way that can be seen as negative. There's some, like the two boys wrestling, I don't agree with that. Two boys, do whatever.
You tried to wrestle me when we were in Oklahoma, and I whooped you.
No, I'm saying I'm saying
That's
that,
good.
that them looking down on saying that that's wrong, that I don't think they're right.
Right. Okay. So you're
Boy-
saying
boys-
boys
boys
should
should do
wrestle.
that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things in that commercial that I would agree with, and I do think that they are sending a good message as far as the way you should be treating other people. But when this commercial came out, it was labeled as being an attack on toxic masculinity by other people, and so that's the way.
You sure that wasn't the title of it? You sure it's not in there?
Look it up.
I don't think it's in there.
No, there was
That every
We
every
Believe
single news article you watch.
Yeah, it has to be the official.
Every single
statement.
news article you watch is going to say something about toxic masculinity. I very, very highly doubt Gillette's going to say it's because of toxic masculinity. That's the way they named their commercial.
I will say this. I do have respect for the way they have handled it, because they didn't they didn't take it and say, oh, everyone's upset by this, we'll pull it. They left it up. They said, no, this is something that we believe in. That's
Yep.
the name of the video, We Believe, I think. And they left it up. So maybe you're right. Maybe their intention was different than the way that society took it.
Correct.
And everyone twists it to their own
I think that's
views,
what happened
'cause
is
that's how everything
some
works
people
out.
got a hold of it, which was the mainstream media. They labeled it as such, and it got a reaction. And there was some things in it that I think they're wrong about, like I said, the boys wrestling and all that.
The boys will be boys, and they
Yeah.
put a bunch of men in front of grills and make them.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. But a lot of it was, it seemed like it came down to just play nice. Just be nice to people.
Only men, though, not women.
Well, Gillette's a male biased company.
So it's a male biased company pointing out men, saying that to watch that commercial and think that they didn't make all men look like insane d-bags would be ridiculous.
I agree with you there.
I wonder how you would view it if the general opinion wasn't out there.
The general opinion, like, it was celebrated at first. Like, it was celebrated at first, and I was like, this is ridiculous. To have a bunch of men falling under what they've determined to be stereotypes of masculinity, because it is in there. They do say masculinity in there. So to have a bunch of men doing ridiculous things, saying that the Me Too movement, don't get me wrong, I think rape's awful. I think the fact that the Me Too movement had to exist is awful. I think that's terrible.
I agree.
think cyberbullying's terrible.
I agree with everything you
said
said previous to what I said.
I think those things are awful. But what I don't think is that putting that on men and continually pushing this narrative that this is what masculinity is not healthy for a male in an environment where masculinity overall is attacked every single day. And I think that the confidence that a male has to have in this day and age and the way they're being trained, teaching kids not to wrestle, teaching kids not to do this, teaching kids to be scared of their own shadow is not the way to train kids. I think teaching them respect and responsibility for things is the number one priority.
Yes. I agree fully with that.
That's my overall assessment of it. But I was definitely disappointed by the commercial in general, and I wish there was a lot more celebration of responsibility as opposed to attacking males at any given standpoint, because males are looked at as the head of a tyrannical government that just has enslaved women for hundreds of years, and I just don't think that that's a fair assessment.
It's funny because that in and of itself isn't masculine. It's not.
Times are
It's
changing.
taking advantage.
Yeah.
Times are changing.
Yeah.
It's a different world out there.
It's a very different world. But thank you so much for tuning into the Green Outdoors. I'd like you to go to our social media pages, our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube pages. Also, we've got a new website, thegreenoutdoors.com, where we have all of our recipes. We're going to be showing you a recipe from next week's episode. It's a snake chili. You can cook it with python or rattlesnake, and I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in. Stay green. For today's recipe, we're going to be cooking up rattlesnake chili. For step-by-step directions for this recipe and many others, visit thegreenwayoutdoors.com. Hello and welcome back to the Greenway Outdoors Kitchen. Today we're going to be cooking up some tasty rattlesnake chili. Now the reason why we're using rattlesnake as opposed to the pythons that we caught in the episode is because the pythons we caught were too high in mercury levels once we had them tested. That's because they're top predators in that ecosystem. So if you are catching pythons, especially in the Everglades, keep that in mind as the PCBs and mercury are notoriously high in those big predators. Now let's get started on this wonderful chili. Start by putting a large pot on your stovetop at high heat, then add your crushed tomatoes. Next you'll add your corn, your rinsed and drained chili beans, followed by your red bell peppers. Next you'll mix in your spices, garlic, chili powder, and thyme to really give it flavor. Next you'll toss in your rattlesnake or python meat, and follow that up with your sticky tomato paste. And the last ingredient to throw in the mixture is your onion. After that, you'll add 1 to 3 cups of water, depending on how thick you like your chili. You'll bring the entire mixture to a boil and then move to low heat and simmer for 2 hours. Then serve and enjoy. Well, watching that recipe in the time-lapse version, it sure goes by pretty quick, but this recipe does take about 2 to 2.5 hours to cook, but it sure made the whole house smell pretty good. I want to make sure I get a piece of the snake to try. My first time having snake. That's kind of interesting. It reminds me of like a calamari almost, like the resistance to it's like a little bit gummy, but not bad. This would be like a good recipe if you were going out and you wanted to get people to try new things and maybe break out of their comfort zone, because honestly it tastes like pretty good chili and kind of an interesting meat texture to go with it. This recipe and all of our other ones can be found at thegreenwayoutdoors.com. There's also loads of information on the website, some of which would talk about how to check to make sure the PCBs and mercury levels in the snake that you're eating is safe. Also, go to our Facebook and Instagram pages. We'd love to hear from you on episodes you'd like to see. Also, our weekly podcast is released on our YouTube page every single Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stay green.